back here at Hug Point, and I've come to paint this beautiful little waterfall. This is roughly the scene. I think I'll zoom in a bit for the painting and just kind of capture the waterfall and the surrounding rock. I really like this moss-covered bright green on the foreground rock, and of course the waterfall spilling over the edge there. It's gorgeous. So I think I'll put the top of the waterfall on this upper 1/3 line and the bottom of this rock on the lower 1/3 line, something like that. Maybe bring the edge of this, bring this edge out to the vertical 1/3 line and put something, try to put something interesting right about here. This is going to be interesting, this spilling water, the rapids, those are high contrast, high action areas. That'll be interesting. I want to counterbalance it with something over here. I'm going to think about no tan. I'm going to try to bring this line of dark in through the lighter sand and come up here and then out and up into this area. And then part of this cave as well will be dark. I think if I can keep most of this dark with a little bit of light here and most of this dark with just the white water as light, that'll make a pretty interesting composition, interesting no tan. This will remain light, so dark coming in, dark coming in, dark up the waterfall, and then dark all around except for a little bit of an angle coming back down to the waterfall. I think that'll make a pretty interesting black and white value pattern. Alright, got my palette of colors here, same colors I've been using down here for the last 2 days on Hug Point. Ivory black, titanium white, cerulean blue. I did add phthalo blue, just a little bit of phthalo blue for that vibrant green moss. I think that might help me really make that moss pop. Ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, cad red, cad yellow, Windsor lemon, yellow ochre. I've got a little bit of that Neo McGilp in here and Artist Turpentine here. I've been using the Neo McGilp so that the paint, especially the paint I mix, doesn't dry quite so fast. When I use liquid in the summer and the warmer months, it really dries, it really skins over fast. And it can make the painting really tacky and kind of hard to spread the color around smoothly as well. So far I did one painting using that plein air earlier today. It worked out really well, so I may be switching to that. I'm using a Gorilla Painter oil primed linen panel. Really nice quality, affordable linen. I like the oil primed surface. It helps me with that initial turpentine wash to move the paint around, and I can expose the white of the panel pretty easy for the lightest lights. I'll use the Artist Turpentine initially to do the sketch and for the turpentine wash. Turpentine wash is just a place for me to play with big shapes and to play with values. I'm going to set up that no tan sketch first using a little bit of burnt umber and burnt sienna. Try to capture the basic dark shapes using the sketch, and then I'll go immediately into the turpentine wash. I use a small bristle brush for the initial sketch. I'll use a little bigger bristle brush for the turpentine wash. I got a little grief in the comments recently about dripping turpentine in nature, and believe me, I'm very careful about not dripping on the ground. I have my gear set up so that any drips from the panel fall on this lower glass palette. I'm really careful about not polluting. In fact, I like to pick up trash from the areas I paint in. I want to leave it better than what I found it. But I appreciate the comment, and I appreciate the person's concern for nature. I agree, we need to preserve, we need to conserve our beautiful natural parks and our natural areas, not pollute, reduce pollution wherever we can. Right now I'll take a smaller, stiffer brush, this evergreen from Rosemary, and with a little bit of turpentine, wipe away the lightest lights like the white of the falling water. The turpentine wash in. I also went ahead and added some more dark, mostly ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson to reinforce that no tan pattern. So now I'll start to mix up the full colors of the scene. As I mentioned in my earlier video from today, I want to minimize the number of piles of color, so I'm going to try to restrict myself to just one or two tones, and then I can shift those tones as I paint by dipping into other colors or pure colors. Alright, I've got the colors mixed up. I don't know how successful I was at minimizing the number of piles. I kind of chased a few colors and then ended up keeping some of the colors that I was generating along the way because I thought, well, that's a great match for that. So anyway, this is the far background deepest shadow. It's pretty gray and blue, and then as it comes forward it gets a little lighter and greener, and then forward still it gets a little more yellow. Then here's some rock in that far background cave in the light and rock in the shadow. Then I've got some colors for the water before it falls over the edge. This is where it's facing the sun, it's catching some warmth. Then I've got some colors mixed up for the moss on the rock in the foreground. I couldn't quite get the right vibrancy. I'll put this down and then maybe go back into that with some cad yellow to bump up the vibrancy. Then I've got some sand color in the sun and some highlights on the rock. And then I've got my leftover sand color here as well from earlier that still matches what I'm seeing. And then I've got some color mixed up for the white water, a little more green, a little more pink. So I'll start with the background and work forward and work down the panel. Where I can, I'll put the shadows, the darker tones in first, and then put in some of the lighter values and try to get those to meet up nicely. That's the challenging point, where the dark values meet the lighter values, how to handle those edges.
I didn't do a lot of commentary on this one because the light was fading pretty quick. If you've tried plein air, you know that there are a million distractions out there. It's easy to get pulled away from your painting, to lose the flow, and then to get frustrated. It's bound to happen. It still happens to me. I find having a process can help. You don't have to be rigorous about it. You don't always have to follow the same process. As you know, I like to experiment. But it can help you if you get stuck or if things aren't working to be able to fall back on a path that you know. It can also help to step back from the painting and just decide what is the area you'd really like to finish. What drew you to the painting in the first place? Focus on that. Just finish that. Don't worry if the rest is unfinished. It doesn't have to be finished. You can learn something. You can come back to it later.
Almost done here. Light's fading fast. I'm just going to take this large soft brush and blend the edges all over so that I can go back in later and easily touch it up. Not really blend the edges, just knock down any ridges in the paint. Okay, I am blending the water just a little bit. It's helping the illusion that the water is flowing. So I am hitting it a little harder than I normally would. Here's where it ended up. Yeah, challenging one. I think I bit off a little more than I should have. Lost the light, but always good practice. I think I got the colors captured and I got the feeling of the scene. Beautiful day, beautiful place to spend an afternoon painting. I'll touch it up in the studio a bit. I think I need to clean up the water. It's a little messy. I also need to reestablish that path of the darks down here. I lost it a little bit, but I can see it still there, climbing up and around and back behind. I think I need to work on connecting those darks just a little bit in the studio. I'll make a few touch-ups and put it out on my website. As always, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you coming along. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. It was fun watching you guys. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit my website. I sell these little plein air pieces at a reasonable price because I consider them practice. It really makes me happy when someone likes my art enough that they want to hang it in their home. You can also sign up for my newsletter and stay up to date on my new work and shows and get a discount on original art and prints.